Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. Now going into the international break, we beat Leeds United 2-1 at Ellen Road. A very big victory, if you ask me, and should be a really good podcast tonight. I'm Harry Scarfe, and I'm your host. We introduce the panel in just a little bit, but firstly, shout out to our partners. Let's go through them all. Firstly, the Kitman. You can check out the Kitman for all your genuine classic past season football shirts, shorts, and scarves. You can relieve the former player memorabilia with some retro memorabilia from the Kitman. And if you use the coupon SCARFY15, capital S, you can get a 15% discount. Also, you've got Everything Spurs Discord, one of the biggest online Tottenham communities, now with over 10,000 members worldwide. It's owned by Wilsey, you'll know, regular here, Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast, Ronaldo Spurs content creator, also part of the Thumbnails team, now partner too. And inside his server, you'll find live match chat during every Spurs game, transfer news, rumours, lots of Spurs banter, debates, gaming, FPL, any off-topic channels basically to keep things fun between matches. It's basically the 24/7 virtual hub. That's what I call it for Tottenham fans. So if you're Spurs, please do get involved. I've recently joined myself. You've got Dan Gaze's Support Services, their third partner, and Dan Gaze's Support Services Limited provides experienced staff to support young people to fulfill their potential, develop their skills, and can be active and positive members of their community. Key aims for them are to build a direct relationship, to be positive and consistent role models, coach and mentor young people to develop their skills and teach self-regulation. At Dan Gaze Support Services, they have a wealth of experience in social, emotional, and mental health as tutors, teachers, senior leaders, and higher-level TAs. Dan Gaze's Support Services are also proud sponsors of Nick Freeman and former Spurs footballer Harvey White. I'm also an ambassador for them. So if you'd like to discuss the services, do get in touch with them. And then we've got in the 290, they're the latest partner. And in the 290 is a Discord community for scouts and analysis, or those aspiring to be potential scouts. It's a community network space, bringing together like-minded people to share their feedback, advice, and workflows so everyone can improve and grow together in an everything helping everyone model. And the last but not least, I would never talk about this enough, but you've got the Last Word on Spurs podcast as well, which we are proud partners of them. Guest-wise, it's been a bit all over the place for this one. We started off with four. I've got one with me now, and that is Lewis. Mate, firstly, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I mean, I haven't really been on in a while. I'm glad to be here. To be fair, I've got A levels, so I mean that just doesn't really help free time. But got free time tonight, so yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. All the best with them. So yeah, you're the only one with me now. We should have Philip King joining from Germany in just a little bit. He's nearly there, and Holly had to pull out unfortunately this morning, and really unlikely to come. We could see him a little bit later, but the show must go on as Tottenham win. It's a very big and exciting game to discuss. Before we get into Leeds, Lewis, I want to talk about Jed Spence because he did receive his England call up before we done the last podcast. Firstly, would you say that's deserved for Spence? Now his second one, back to back international call ups.
Yeah, I think it's very deserved. I mean, I think England itself have maybe a bit of a fullback issue, perhaps. I mean, one could say we've got a lack of young fullbacks coming up. I think it was very deserved. I mean, definitely towards the end of last season, he was one of our most consistent performers. Someone who was someone who we relied on, really. We have a bit of fullback injuries. Destiny Doggy was out for a few times last season. But, I think it was very much deserved. And I hope he plays more because I think with Thomas Tuchel under the last international break, minutes were very limited for him. So I hope he gets more when he comes into this international break because he does deserve it. And I definitely prime as right now to being one of the best England's top fullbacks.
Totally agree with you, Lewis. But do you think the fact that we had the news today that Reece James has pulled out through injury, of course he has been replaced by Nico O'Reilly, but do you think this has increased Spence's chance of actually playing? Of course, he's got the first game against Wales on Thursday.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, I think with Thomas Tuchel, he seems to slowly integrate players into the England setup. So I think his role, Nico O'Reilly's role will be similar to what Jed Spence would have done in the last international break. Probably come on in the second game, get very limited minutes in the first game. So I think Jed Spence could be starting. I hope he does start at least one of the games. Hopefully, Wales. We'll have to see. But no, he definitely does deserve it. The England call up. Because he's got a rare ability to be able to play on the left and the right, which is great for versatility. It's great for something like a World Cup coming up next year. So I definitely hope him to be part of the World Cup squad.
Fingers crossed. I'd say he deserves it at this moment in time. But you're right, and you speak about there in terms of he can play left back and right back, and let's be honest, do a great job at both for the club and hopefully for country too. But where would you say is his best position? If I said to you for whatever reason, like Spence has to start in this position the majority of the time, what would it be? Would it be left back or would it be right back?
I'd probably have him as a right. It's just, I mean, as a right back, just because I think to me a player is probably best in the position they feel most comfortable in with the side of their stronger foot. And that would be on the right for him. I mean, I'm not saying it at all. There's on the left hand side, he's still very effective. He's still great defensively and going forward as well. But I think just he seems to be a bit more comfortable on the right hand side. He's played there his whole career, so that's why I'd say he's probably a bit stronger on that right.
Good call. And last but not least, I've got to look at it from the other point of view. Some are saying that he's dropped off since he got that first England call up under Tuchel. Do you agree with that, or can you understand maybe where they're coming from?
I can. I do. I can. I mean, I'd say maybe his performance hasn't been maybe it's not been as noticeable, is what I'd say, and maybe his makers. His name doesn't seem to be popping up as much now because we hyped him up a lot when he was having his comeback into football, breaking in. But maybe now you just expect it of him now that his performances don't seem to surprise you. They don't seem to be as noticeable now because you know what he can do and you know what he's capable of. But I'd say recently, yeah, I'd say that his performances have slightly dipped. Maybe I would say that. I mean, another fullback you might come on to later, Destiny Udogie. I think he's been brilliant in the last few games. Maybe that's why his performances may have overshadowed the likes of Porros and Spence because I think he's been really good.
Vital point. That's really true. Thank you, Lewis, for that. And on to the Leeds review now. So if people didn't see it, the starting 11 was Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie. That was your back four. Bentancur, Paulinia and Simmons, that was your midfield. And then Odobert, Kudus and Tell was your forward line. The Spurs substitutes, reminder we can name 9 were Kinski, Danso, Davis, Spence, Gray, Sarr, Bergvall, Johnson and Richarlison. Lewis, what were your thoughts at the time when you saw that? Any surprises in there for you, both maybe with the team or with the substitutes bench?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised to see Matisse Tell start. I thought Richarlison would be starting in my. I mean, although I was in the back of my mind going this game, thought that I would have given Richarlison, maybe not drop him because drop's kind of maybe harsh, but I'd say I wanted to maybe rest him, so to speak, or just try and rotate the squad a bit because Richarlison had a lot of minutes in recent games. I was surprised that Tell was starting, and I wasn't maybe against it. I was just maybe a bit skeptical going into the game because I think personally he hasn't really done anything of note in a Spurs shirt, in my opinion. I think he's got potential, but I think he just haven't really seen it as much as we could have. So I was skeptical, but I wasn't fully against it. Xavi Simmons in the 10 is something I think every Spurs fan has been calling for. I think ever since we signed him and we got to see him there, I think that was maybe a little surprised. I mean, I think it was all just a matter of time, and finally it happened again in a big game. So I think that's what he was happy about. Not too many surprises though. I'd say in the defence and the midfield. I think the midfield two is pretty nailed on with Paulinia and Bentancur. I think they're a great duo that complement each other very well. Maybe Wilson Odobert starting as well. I mean, I think we kind of have a lack of. I mean, I think we've got great winger depth, is how I like to say it, but I think we lack 2 quality wingers, in my opinion. I'd say Kudus is the only name on our squad as a winger that I can say who's currently fit, who's not world class, but he can reach that level. All our other wingers are somewhat of maybe a squad player, but just someone who's not really at that level yet. But Wilson Odobert is someone who I like, and to see him start, I wasn't against at all because I think he deserves it. I think he's been decent, but I'll say that also shocked me a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Lewis. And again, I personally, get involved here. I think that I agree with you with that. I think Kudus, that's probably a good way of describing. Very good player. What a signing he's been. But whether he is world class or not, whether he can get there, I don't think he quite is yet. But I don't want to limit what he can achieve. But I agree with you. Kudus would be that only one. We'd certainly have the quantity, but it's about the quality. And I'm glad we have the quantity. Don't get me wrong. I think we're probably in a maybe slightly better winger situation now. We brought in Kudus, but it's not enough at the end of the day. But can you see Odobert? You mentioned him there, how you like him. Can you see him like grabbing that left wing position by the scruff of the neck and making it his. Of course, he's not going to start every game. We've seen that with Frank, as you spoke about earlier. The changes, the rotation, the kind of strength and depth we now have because of the transfer window. But would you like to see him start regularly? He's either one for you.
He is, but I think it is just down to maybe the lack of, I would say, quality. Maybe because I think we haven't, because we've sold Son and Son. We never really replaced him. Really, is the issue that I've got currently. If I was to give you a one con of the window so far, is that. And when you talk about our left winger situation at the moment, I mean Wilson Odobert and potentially Matisse Tell, because he seems to play on the left, is the only two really currently that are, I would say, that could probably play in that position. I mean, Brennan Johnson has had moments on the left, but I think he's not really. That's not his position. I think I think he struggles. Xavi Simons has been seen to play on the left, but I think he's been deemed ineffective. Is what I would see it as. So right now, just because of the lack of options that we actually have on the left-hand side, I think the position can be up for grabs for Wilson Odobert.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lewis, for that. And Philip is now joined us live from Frankfurt, Germany. Firstly, Philip, how are you doing before I bring you in on the conversation?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Thanks for having me on again. Harry, always a pleasure. Good to be on with Lewis as well. Again, it's been a while. Always a pleasure. Obviously, it's been a good weekend for us. Always nice to win the early kickoff on a Saturday, isn't it? So, yeah, I've been in a good mood, I guess, since then, in terms of Spurs related or anything football related. So, yeah, all good.
Exactly that. Thank you for your time, for joining us. Thank you, as always. To kind of bring you in on the conversation, we're currently joined at a good time, actually, going through the lineup. And one thing I want to ask you about, Philip, is Bentancur and Paulinho both started in midfield in this game, against Leeds. What were your thoughts on that team come out, in particular on Bentancur and Paulinho? Because a lot of people seem to be frustrated when they start together. But Lewis makes a good point. He thinks they complement each other really well and bounce off each other.
Yeah, I actually agree with Lewis on that. I think it's too simple to kind of say or analyze and say, oh, they can't play together, or when they play together, they're either too like or they don't complement each other in terms of like the way that we want to play. I think that's far too simple. And I actually think it's not really a case of Bentancur and Paulinho, like in terms of them either not being able to play together or being able to play together. My bigger concern was just on Bentancur himself, like in terms of how he's playing, right? How his performances are, or how effective he's being. So yeah, I can understand why some people will be frustrated to see both of them kind of starting again. I know quite a few fans would have liked to have seen Gray come in, as an example, start the game. I probably would have liked that as well, but I think it's probably highly unrealistic, looking at the other players we've got at the moment, right? To put Gray in as a start. I know we've got other midfield options as well, but look, I can understand why he's playing, Paulinho and Bentancur together. I think they do complement each other. Bentancur is good on the ball, right? He generally keeps the ball well, right? And he can dictate play. Paulinho is still kind of in there, going into other areas that Bentancur does. Paulinho will tend to probably win a few more 50-50s, obviously, than Bentancur. But I actually think they do complement each other, and I think that they can be a successful pairing moving forward. My main point, though, with regards to the whole topic is I don't think Bentancur has been playing very well this season. I don't think he does enough at anything. Like, he doesn't do enough as a number 6. He doesn't do enough as a number 8. I don't think he gets in the right positions. His positioning seems to be a bit weird. He always seems to be in a bit of a weird place on the pitch where he's neither offering himself as an out ball to the defenders. So, they can't pass it to him because he's standing somewhere really weird or not in space. Do you know what I mean? Or he's not moving forward into space, right? So that someone like Romero can play the. Romero was playing those long passes that he likes to do. The long, low, hard balls, but he wasn't playing them into Bentancur or Paulinho. He was bisecting the midfield, and he was playing it straight into Xavi or one of the other wingers, even Kudus, right, who was further ahead of them. So all that would suggest to me is that Bentancur particularly, but also the midfield, still isn't quite working for me. And for me, this is probably still, I think I mentioned it on the last podcast last week, but for me, this is still Thomas Frank's biggest challenge in the short and also in the medium term, is to get his midfield sorted, to get his first choice midfield probably sorted, but also understand and work out which players can play well together and where do they need to be on the pitch. I think that's still missing, overall. Okay. But it was better, right? It was better. I don't think there was massive gaps in midfield, right, and at the weekend now. And Ben. To be fair to Bentancur, I don't know if he was better in the second half as well. I felt I thought he was actually better in the second half. So look, I mean, he's a quality player, right? I know he's had challenges since he got his injury, and coming back from such a bad injury, he hasn't quite been the same player. But we've extended his contract. It's obviously a good player. I think he still has a future in the team. But it's down to Frank just to basically work out and work with the players. How can they get the balance right there? Exactly.
Oh, you make a load of interesting points actually there, Philip. One I want to pick up is about Bentancur. I've actually planned a bit for Thursday's podcast, being the international break, about Bentancur, but people didn't see he signed a new deal in the week. I want to talk about him in a little bit more detail on Thursday. But Lewis, to pick this up briefly and lightly for now, do you think Bentancur has been the same player since when he got injured under Antonio Conte, where he was, I think, in my opinion anyway, vital? Has he been the same in terms of his attacking output and that kind of pressing? I think it's just game's completely changed with Ange and with that injury.
Yeah, no, I don't. He hasn't been the same. I think when under Antonio Conte, I think it was the 22-23 season. I want to say, I could be wrong. Yeah, no, he was definitely up there with one of the most vital players to our team when he had a double pivot next to Pierre Højbjerg. That double pivot there was pretty nailed on, and it complemented each other very well. And I was going to say he would be in the top 3 most important players alongside Kane and potentially Heung-min Son at that time. So I mean. I don't think he has been the same. I think he had a lot of. I think in that system, that double pivot, he had a lot of attacking responsibility, if so say, because through the midfield, he was our most creative sort of player. I mean, it's pretty crazy to say, but he was in that midfield. Yeah. In that pivot, any opportunities that were going to come through the middle would be solely down to Rodrigo Bentancur, because Højbjerg would sit and protect the back 3. So I think that. And since the injury picked up that season, he hasn't been the same. His role changed as well, because I think with Ange Postecoglou, he was more in a 3 as a box-to-box, maybe sort of midfielder in a 3, or either hold protect to the back 4 in some games as well. His role under Ange shifted between the 2 sort of positions in that midfield. So he never really had a definitive role in that Ange system, which kind of maybe might have not helped him out at all, in his fairness. But I think under Frank, he'll probably have a more. I don't think his role is going to change. I think it'll be very similar every game, so that will go in his favour. But no, I don't think he has been the same. I think the quality is there. I think he possesses it and he shows it, but just not consistent enough. Bentancur will give you a brilliant game of probably every 1 in 7, and then the other 4 of 5, 6 games he kind of dabbles a bit. It's basically just a bit inconsistent in his performances, but he shows it. He has glimpses of quality every few games. It's just about obtaining that over a full 90 and then attaining that over a course of a season.
Some good points. Yeah, you both make good points for that. But thank you very much. We'll move on to the action itself then. 7th minute, Joe Rodon, former Spurs player, of course, now Leeds United player, hit the post from a header. Lewis, can I stick with you? I mean, firstly, he should have scored from that, shouldn't he? And also, he does get the better of a doggy quite easily. Does that concern you? Of course, being really early on.
It does. I think I was watching the game with my brother, and I did highlight Adesanya Doi's position and the lack of awareness by picking him up at the back post. And then he also said to me as well, look at Vicario's positioning. And Vicario's positioning was also a bit of an issue because it was all over the place and he didn't really know what he was doing there. I think that's the two issues that we left Joe Roda probably the biggest aerial threat that Leeds would have possessed other than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Them two were the biggest two threats you have to watch from a set piece. And we've left one of them unmarked at the back post with Desmond Doggy not really identifying that he was there until Jordan's above him and going up for the header. And then Vicario's in the middle of the box and not even nowhere near the ball. Ronan has a free header and the goalkeeper's not even near the back post to even make an attempt at a save, even if it's on target, which unfortunately just hit the post. So it was a bit of a worry, and I thought, under set pieces, when it comes to set pieces under Frank, we've really ironed out defensive issues, and we're airtight with defending set pieces. We've got much better, and that was an issue. It's a constant issue with Ange. A lot of people said, "Do you practice set pieces in training?" He kept saying yes. Yet we never really seemed to iron out the issues. But under Frank, we have. But that was also a bit of a concern. It was, but I think we improved our set piece defending as the game went on there.
That's a good point again. Thank you very much, Lewis, for that. On the 22nd minute, so Kudus was booked for Tottenham. Philip, can I come to you? 23rd minute, it was a Spurs goal, the first goal of the game to break the deadlock. It went to Matthias Tell. I mean, he took the shot firstly with real confidence, didn't he? Did you expect him to shoot from there?
Yeah, I think so. Like he seems to be the kind of player that, acts on instinct. I think when he got the ball, he was quite far from goal, right? And then he kind of ran on, for quite a few steps. And then, to Tell's credit, he made a little kind of skill move. Like, he shifted the ball slightly, didn't he? Like he did something, he did a little dribble, and then he kind of just shifted his ball really quickly, like, and gave himself an extra half yard, to get the shot away quickly. So I think he did really well there, and look, fair play to him for taking the shot on from there. He was still quite a way out, wasn't he? Really, a lot of players not sure if they would be confident of scoring from there each time. I know it got a deflection, but even then, I think he would have got the shot would have gone on target, and it had quite a lot of power as well. So who knows what the keeper would have done? But the deflection basically just gave the keeper no chance in the end. But look, fair play to Tell for trying the shot and for taking it on, and for hitting the shot with enough power and precision to do it. If it scuffed it or if it hit it half as hard, it wouldn't have been a goal, right? So fair play to him for that. I think if you look at what he's done at Bayern in the past before he joined Spurs, he's quite an instinctive player, and he's scored quite a lot of goals from outside the box as well. He did it for France, didn't he? France under 21s with his other foot a couple of weeks back. Great finish from outside the box, top corner. So he can definitely finish, from outside the box. So I think he was confident and he was rewarded, and I'm so happy for him. Genuinely so happy after the stick he got, earlier on the season after that PSG game where he, had, kind of had the cameo from hell, really, wasn't it? Like it wasn't a very good kind of 5-10 minutes after coming off the bench, right, against Paris. And he's obviously struggled to get game time since then, but I feel very happy for him. And you could see Thomas Frank, how delighted he was as well. Him bigging up the crowd at the end as well to cheer him. So very, very happy for Tell. And, I'm assuming he's going to get more game time anyways because he's not in the Champions League squad. So, yeah, fair play to him.
Thank you, Philip. I mean, you know me, I'm accepting of all opinions and will always be the case. But if you're not happy for Tell, then, there's something wrong, to be honest with you. He's our player at the end of the day. We think he's good enough or not. There's nothing wrong with having legitimate concerns, whether he's good enough, should we sign him or not. why is he here? Is he worth this? All valid questions. But as far as I'm concerned, if you wear the Spurs shirt and they're scoring, you should absolutely get behind them. And we know, unfortunately, especially those on social media, there'll be a few Spurs fans that are, not happy that Taylor scored. They've got no argument. They've got no scapegoat. But Philip, very good points there again. So thank you. But Lewis, can I come to you? Because it was a really tight angle. And I've got to ask this question. It's absolutely nothing against Tell, but do you think it was going in without the deflection? Because if you look at it back, it's just over Cardallo's glove.
I probably don't. I mean, it's subjective. It's kind of just open to interpretation, which is I can't. Nothing I say, it's just gospel. But I probably don't, because I think the shot is kind of angling down. I think the way he's hit it is starting to slowly go down. I think at that scenario, I think it probably would be saved. So I don't think it was going to go in all honesty. But obviously the boot, the defender has tipped it up. And I mean, even in that scenario, I think Caldara could be doing better. But I just think it's the nature of the ball of you when you first are looking at it, it's going down and then it just scoops up. It just throws you off. And I mean, I think the element of the deflection does turn it in, which I think it probably wouldn't have been going in, but if it didn't, but probably just because it's been angled down. But I think the sheer power that he's got on it anyway has added to that. So I think the power of the shot, even if it maybe was probably going to be saved anyway, the amount of power he's got behind the shot has helped it on its way, and I can put that down to Tell. So I think it is probably not good. It probably wouldn't have gone in, but I'm still not taking it away from him, because I mean, even with our second goal, it's deflected as well. So.
Okay, thank you. But sticking with you, Lewis, I mean, I didn't realise at the time when I saw it back, Bentancur wins it back, and I think he wins it back quite well. Would that be fair to say? He plays a big role in this goal, and something we talk about here that Bentancur used to do in the past. So, do we need more of that from Bentancur, stepping in, winning the ball back, and creating the attack?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, that's kind of what under Conte he was very intercepting play, cutting it up in the midfield, and obviously pressing it higher as his press is something that we've seen a lot from him in recent years. Maybe he has dropped off a little bit, but it's that instinct, that defensive instinct to intercept, win it high, and play the pass to, I believe, out to Mohamed Kudus, who got the assist for that for Matisse Tell's goal. It was great, quick counter-attack action, and that's where the threat was from our end in the first half. Anyway, we've seemed to play counter-attacking football. We seemed threatening on the counter-attack, and it worked.
Certainly did work. Thank you. And Philip, can Tell now push on? That's the big question. Now he's got that first goal. Will the goals come flooding? Will he just be performing better? How do you see now the next few games after the international break going for him? Well, having said that, the international break's probably come at a bad time for him.
Yeah, I think it has. It's going to give him confidence, isn't it? It's going to give him confidence that he deserves to play for Spurs, deserves to play in that team. That's what a first goal will do. The season, I think a lot will depend on what happens, with the striker, in the next few weeks. Like, we have no idea what's going on with Solanke, although the fact that he's had surgery last week and that they said they'd give an update after the international break. I mean, he's likely going to be missing for probably at least a month or 6 weeks. Let's at a complete guess, but he's not going to be back in the next couple of weeks. Richarlison, we've all got our opinions on Richarlison, and we've talked about it probably quite a lot as well. Personally, and I think maybe Richarlison is good for certain phases of games or certain opponents, but looking at the options and bearing in mind that Moani probably still isn't fit either, and even if his the dead leg comes back from the dead to be alive again, I don't know if he's match fit. He didn't look it like a few weeks back. So I'd like to think that Tell, with that goal at least, giving himself confidence to maybe also be knocking on Frank's door, to get a start against Villa. He's obviously not in the Champions League squad. It's probably a good sign to the player, isn't it, from Frank or from the manager, to keep faith in him, give him another chance, right, to get his second goal in 2 games. So I'd like to think that he might start the next game again up front, with the option of bringing Richie off the bench and maybe, Moani if he is able to play any minutes. So, look, Tell, my last point on Tell would be is that, again, people can argue about the fee and whether the signing made sense for us, but, other teams were interested in him. Man United, he was very close to signing for United, wasn't he? And there was other teams in for him apparently in the background. Dortmund made an offer for him as well here in Germany. And I know for a fact there was other Premier League teams interested as well. So there's no doubt he's got the talent. It's only is he 19 still? Or is he 20 now? He's very young. So, I think there's a place for him in our squad, and I can see him being like a really important part of the squad, right, for the next few years. Whether he's develops well enough or whether there's space in the team for him to start a lot of games, I'm not sure, because we're probably still going to sign hopefully another left winger, at some point. And I would say that we're still going to probably sign another striker, maybe next summer as well, because Moani's only a stopgap, I think, right? And Richarlison is not the solution. So who knows? But at least Tell's throwing his hat in the ring. So, he's going to get confidence from that.
He certainly is. Thank you, Philip, for that. Hopefully he can push on, for the sake. Hopefully I can speak on behalf of Spurs fans for that one. Lewis, moving on, progressing. 34th minute Leeds did respond. So quite quickly, to be fair to them, within, 11 minutes, 10 minutes to make it 1-1. It's Okafor with the goal. Do you think Vicario will be disappointed? I mean, you'd think he'd be quite unsighted with the way he reacted and the amount of bodies in and around him, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vicario could be doing better. I mean, it's a decent initial save, right? I mean, it's a tough shot initially, so it's not a terrible save by all means, but he's pushed it straight back into danger, and I feel like he could be maybe doing a little bit. I mean, obviously, I can't sit here and say, he should do much better, because if I had that shot, I probably wouldn't be saving this shot anyway. So I can't really be in the position to speak about it, but I still think as a professional keeper, he could be doing maybe a bit of an effort to try and push the shot out, even for a corner, tip it around the post for a corner, try and push it, get a bit more power behind it, tip it for a throw-in, or even try and catch it. I mean, I don't know, because I don't see Vicario catching things as much as what I'd see an initial goalkeeper to do from corners. He seems to always punch it out, where I feel like it's safer. And from Anthony Kinski, Anthony Kinski seems to come out and tries to catch it, yet Vicario prefers to punch it away. And again, I would say against Brighton, I mean, I was going into the game, I think he kind of was at fault for the second Brighton goal. I think he could be doing better there. I think, again, I'd say against Leeds, I think he could be doing better. I think he could be trying to push it away from danger at least, because he's pushed it right into the path of Okafor. So it didn't really... I think he could be doing better. I mean, we didn't stop the cross initially, which I guess you could put that also as a fault down to the amount of picking out individual areas. I can't put it straight down to Vicario. I mean, but there was a lot of bodies in the box. Didn't stop the initial cross, so I can't like all fault with him. But I still think he could be doing better in that scenario. I don't think we can. Can I
Harry,
hear you?
we can't hear you, Harry.
I don't know what's happening. I think it's... I haven't really got much to say. Unfortunately, Philip's gonna have to take over for me.
I would agree with you, Lewis. To be fair, I kind of, those shots that come in that are deflected like that are quite. I don't think he was well sighted either, right? Of the original kind of shot, and then it got deflected. He can kind of do that. But if you're a top keeper, like top keeper, like top 10%, top genuine top 2, top 3 in the league, international starting every game, you'd probably want to say that he needs to do better on that. As Lewis said, you're probably palming it out for a corner somehow. or you're palming it away, or maybe you are catching it. It wasn't a very fast shot, was it? It wasn't like, didn't come at him. It didn't look like with loads of speed. It just seemed that Vicario was really surprised by it, and he kind of just didn't know what to do, and he just kind of padded it, which I think is a shame. You know, he made up for it in the rest of the game with his saves. You know, none of them, I would say again though, was like, I think the saves that he made later in the game, he probably should have saved. Like, but that's what a keeper does, I guess. You know, when you make a mistake, or when you don't save a shot effectively that leads to a goal, then it's going to generally not look good for the keeper. And as you said, you know, like, why didn't we? You know, we could have cut the cross out. So maybe it's nitpicking a bit, you know, but it kind of follows on with regards to Vicario and what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, though, isn't it? You know, he's looked shaky in games. Brighton, that second goal. I mean, he probably saves that actually 8 times out of 10, I would say, if he gets another chance. So that's a goalkeeping error, isn't it, really, if you want to be really critical about it. And again, like, there's no doubt that Vicario is good enough to play for Spurs, and he deserves to play for Spurs, and he loves Spurs, you know, and he's a leader in the team. He's always talking about us. He loves us. There's no doubt he's good enough. But if you're a keeper and you're making mistakes, or you're not inspiring confidence in your defence, either through saves or lack of distribution or calmness, that's where your backup keeper is hopefully good enough to maybe come in and either take that spot, or maybe just take the spot for a couple of games to put a bit of pressure on the number one keeper. So again, it's an interesting discussion, isn't it? You know, we talked about it last week about Kinski, didn't we?
We did.
I don't want to get. I'm not on Vicario's back. Like, I'm not calling for him to get dropped. Like, not clearly, but I would like to see Kinski get a couple of games. You know, especially behind that first choice back four.
Yeah, it's a good point. Hopefully you can hear me all right now. I should be back with the mic. I think it disconnected on me, so apologies about that. But I'm back for now, unfortunately for you. But I want to focus on this goal. Appreciate you stepping in there, Philip. But I tell you what, I stick with you, Philip, for this. I'm not even suggesting, for the record, that this is an excuse or anything like that. You know, my job is to be open-minded on any possibility because of a goal. But Vicario was very quick to point out when the ball hit the back of the net about an inflatable ball being on the pitch. Does this impact the goal whatsoever? I personally think that it doesn't. And then Vicario's, I like him, but he's a bit of a moaner anyway, as is the likes of Porro. And he's looked on the pitch and gone, hang on a minute, there's 2 balls on the pitch, and put 2 and 2 together. But how do you view it?
No, it wasn't close. It wasn't close enough to him. It wasn't exactly in the same moment. I think if you look at the replay as well, he kind of makes the save or makes the fumble, whatever, and then the other ball kind of trickles into play afterwards. I don't think it was I don't think it impacted his save at all. You know, and it's the initial save that he kind of didn't do ideal. You know, if there was then if he had to make a double save or something, you know, if he'd like flung himself across or something, and then, you know, there was a second ball coming in, which there was, then it might have been a bit different. But he was definitely moaning there or making an excuse. And I, you know, that there was that original beach ball incident, wasn't there, years ago. I can't remember who was involved now.
I know what you're talking about. It was Sunderland. I think it was Sunderland v Liverpool. I don't know why. I think it was, but he just kicked. It was kicked, and then it was kicked against a red beach ball, and then the ball was then flowing to the back of the net. If that happens, then I would have been like, all right, you can probably rule the goal out potentially, because you can't have 2 balls in the pitch and it's individual play. But I don't think it was.
Yeah,
it was Darren Bent, actually. I remember now. It was Darren Bent. It was Sunderland. You're right.
Well, it was Bent.
And I mean that ball was clearly in play, right? That beach ball or whatever, it impacted the goal. I mean, Vicario was, you know, he does that all the time. He likes to complain. He likes to moan. He's quite loud and vocal, isn't he? It would have been interesting if that inflatable had been like 2 seconds earlier and, you know, come across a bit more. Because to be fair, then it would have probably interfered with play, in terms of eyesight. So that would have been an interesting one then, as to see what would happen. But in the end, nah, it didn't.
I've got to ask, but no, I totally agree with that. Thank you, Philip. No, you're right. I mean, clutch at straws here. But Lewis, with this goal, this equaliser by Leeds, it's the perfect response by them, isn't it? From going behind, at home to, within kind of 10 or so minutes to get straight back into it.
It was, yeah. I mean, because I think as soon as we scored, we kind of dropped off a little bit. I mean, we didn't. We were asking as soon as we scored, we never really looked threatening again. We looked pretty happy to sit on that 1-0 for that length of time. Leeds were piling on the pressure, so I mean, it probably was a matter of time until they got that equaliser, because it looked like it was coming, but it was just annoying that it came out of something that we could have helped ourselves. We could have. It wasn't. I mean, if it wasn't. Leeds we were building up to the goal, but it's something that we could have easily avoided, and it's something that, again, like if you look at the Brighton game, I think the second goal definitely could be avoided. I think the Wolves goal as well, from Vicario, definitely could be avoided. So it's the goals we're conceding. I can't put them solely down to the quality of opposition. You put them down to kind of individual errors or just lack of awareness from us. So it was coming from the Leeds perspective. They probably did deserve it, but it's something that we could have easily avoided and we could have helped ourselves.
Yeah, very good point there. Thank you. Good point. I think a lot of people agree with that. 41st minute, João Palhinha was booked for Tottenham. 45th minute, Matis actually had a header which hit the bar. It was in the first minute of added time, and that at the end of the first half. And half time, it was Leeds 1, Tottenham 1. So the first half expected goals, that's XG, was 1.25 for Leeds and just 0.39 for Tottenham. Lewis, what were your thoughts on the first half? And would it be fair to say that both teams wasted chances?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I think both. I think Leeds probably had better chances than us in theory, but I mean, I think at half time 1-1 was pretty fair. I don't think either team really showed that they were much better than the other. I think it was quite an even game. I think the midfield battle was pretty even. They had swings roundabouts. Which team had more possession in the game, had more of the ball. And I think going into half time, from a Spurs point, you couldn't have argued and said, "Oh, we should be winning." We never really showed that sort of intent to go and and continue to be knocking on the door and continue to try and create an opening. So it was pretty fair at half time. But no, neither team really showed much more quality, much more creativity than the other team. I think it was pretty even at half time.
Okay, thank you, Lewis. Again, Philip, can I come to you? On to the second half now. 48th minute, Vicario with his legs denies Calvert-Lewin, David De Gea style. On reflection, I mean, I don't want to necessarily big up this moment too much, but how important was that save? Because do you think the game would have maybe been a little bit different if Leeds had scored early in the second half? I'm just thinking, because it's at Ellen Road. Again, I'm putting two and two together here, and thinking if Leeds score early at the second half, they complete that comeback. The fans are behind them. They've got something to hold on to. I just think it creates a whole different atmosphere and scenario. Would that be fair to say? Of course, we don't know what would have happened if Leeds had been 2-1 up.
Yeah, if they'd gone 2-1 up, then with the atmosphere there and the volume level and the weather as well, right? It was awful weather, right? I think them going 2-1 up so quickly in the first half could have changed. Sorry, in the second half could have made it very difficult for us, I think, to come back from being behind. But to be fair to the team, we've come back, right, on multiple occasions from being not only 1 goal down, but also 2 goals down, also away from home. The Brighton game being a case in point, right? When Brighton went 2-0 up, I think kind of a lot of people might have expected us to fold. Instead, we came back and probably, arguably, we maybe should have even won that game against Brighton, with just a bit more, because we were really good in that second half. So who's to say what would have happened if Leeds had gone 2-1 up? I know, we weren't creating loads and loads of chances really, but we were, at that point of the game, we were getting into good positions, where already, right, where just the final ball was missing. Dogi on at least 2 or 3 occasions was getting to the byline. He flashed little balls across the box, and there was no one there. You know, if we've got a Kane, or well, obviously we've got Kane then, anyways. But if we've got another like proper top quality striker in there, who's a real poacher. And by the way, I think Tell isn't. That's what I would say about Tell. By the way, he's not a goal poacher, is he? He's a bit of a different player. But if you've got a striker, if Solanke's in there, probably would have got maybe 1 or 2 goals just from all those chances. So I think we could have come back. But yeah, look, I mean, Leeds is a very loud place. It's a difficult place to go. So if they'd got the momentum at that point, who knows? It could have been difficult to come back from. It would have been very interesting to see how Frank would have reacted, I think, at that point at 2-1 down, if they'd scored, whether he would have then, you know, made some subs straight away rather than waiting a couple more minutes like he did, or whether he would have changed the formation, or maybe, you know, I think that would have been interesting to see how he would have reacted.
That would have been, but I'm glad to say that we don't need to know. We didn't know because we had, you know, control of the game in the end. But stay with you, Philip. 57th minute, Spurs got that goal, the third of the game, the second for us to make it 2-1 through Mohamed Kudus. Firstly, I mean, a beautiful goal, wasn't it? A solo goal from Kudus.
Yeah, you know, like he did what he just does so often as well, though, right? He kind of he was strong, wasn't he? He held the ball up almost, you know, on the left side, and cut inside, shrugged the player off, left him for dead. You know, and he kind of keeps on running, doesn't he? And keeps on running, and you're like, oh, is he going to pass it across the box now for someone to have a shot? But he just took that extra little dribble on top to give him space, and he went for the shot. Great solo goal in the end, and you know, it kind of put the crown on a really good Kudus performance, right? Overall, like, he's been amazing. You know, so, and again, there was a deflection on the shot, right? Who knows if again, maybe the keeper would have saved it. The deflection was quite close to Kudus, so it changed the flight of the ball straight away, and it just kind of clipped into that corner, right? The keeper was nowhere near it. Who knows? But again, at least he went for the shot, you know. And how many times over the last how many times over the years have we been on the receiving end of deflected shots and things like this, right? I can't honestly remember that often when we actually scored, you know, like goals like that over the last few years, right? Where we've, you know, taken a shot and it's taken a wicked deflection and we've scored. I can't really honestly think about that many things. So maybe it's a bit of luck for us. It comes around, it goes around. But again, Kudus tried it just like Tell did in the first half. And I guess if you try it and you're in the right position, then you kind of get what you deserve, which is hopefully a goal then every now and again, don't you? And we did it.
Exactly.
You know, and again, it was a great time for us to score, I think, as well. Because, you know, after conceding the 2-1, I can't remember who played the ball into Kudus actually, but it was a really good ball into Kudus as well. I think it was for him to kind of take it down. I don't know if it was Romero.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I thought Kudus won the ball back as well. I could be wrong, but I think he nicked it back. I think you're right. Initial good pass, but then I think it was lost, and he won it back.
Yeah, that's it. There was a good ball out to him, and he kind of lost. Actually, he rarely lost the 50-50, but then he won it back. But yeah, I mean, you know, you can probably do you can do like a pod just on Kudus, right? Like what his impact has been this season so far, after only, you know, 10, 11 games for Spurs, right? And we can go back to those famous Twitter posts by the West Ham fans who were debating on their own podcast about, you know, basically kind of ripping us off on his price. But what a player! What a player! Yeah. I mean, all we need, if we need another Kudus on the left, literally, you know, that kind of player, right? If we had another,
just one name. Just name dropping. I'm sorry, just name dropping.
I agree.
Why not? Semenyo would right now. Semenyo would be my dream signing on the left. I think it'd be my absolute first choice. You know, direct, dribbly, goal I mean, can you imagine? Okay, well, we probably shouldn't get carried away about that, but that would literally be dream scenarios, wouldn't it?
Yeah. As you said, though, we shouldn't get too carried away. Obviously, signing that new deal, but you never know in the future. Fingers crossed. One that we can hopefully come back to. But I've got actually some stats here on me that I've done some research because it's stats against Leeds United. So got a goal, got an assist. By the way, it's his first Tottenham goal. One chance created. He had 3 shots, 20 sprints. 22 out of 25 passes completed were successful, and 6 out of 6 successful dribbles. So 100% dribble accuracy. That's incredible. 4 ball recoveries, 4 touches in the opposition box, 9 out of 18 ground duels won, 1 out of 1 aerial duels won, 1 foul won. And also, Mohamed Kudus now has 5 goal contributions in 7 Premier League matches for Tottenham Hotspur. And Mohamed Kudus is also the first player to win 50 plus duels in the Premier League this season. He's actually now at 57. So, some incredible stats everywhere you look for Kudus. But we'll progress for now. As Philip said, though, we could literally have a whole podcast on Kudus. But maybe an idea for the international break now. 64th minute, Romero was booked. 73rd minute, Spurs double substitution. On comes Sarr and Richarlison, and off come Simmons and Tell. This means it was 250 Premier League appearances now for Richarlison. It's the 5th Brazilian to reach the milestone. But it also meant that Simmons went the other way. So, Lewis, can I come to you and get your thoughts on Xavi Simmons' performance in that number 10? Of course, as fans, majority of us, if not all, wanted to see him in that 10. What do you make of it? And, is there more to come? Does he need time?
I think it was an improvement on everything I've seen from him on the left-hand side. I mean, he had a few good moments. I think he played a lovely through ball into, I want to say, Adogi quite early on in the first half. But I could be wrong. And then later in the game as well, there's a nice interchange between Pedro Porro and him. I think he then dinked it over into Pedro Porro, but it was just a little bit too heavy. But no, I think it was improvement on every game I've seen of him so far. I think he had more of an impact on the game. He had more ability to control the game, control the tempo of the game, try and be creative. He's had the license to try and be more creative because on the wing, as a winger, I don't think he's got the legs or the pace to really have a go at a man. I think he needs to have a bit more space around him. I mean, he can also work well in tight areas and try and pick out a good pass. I think it was better. I think it was an improvement on every other game I've seen him play. But he's still yet to have that goal contribution, that impact that really has tell everyone, oh, Simmons has arrived and this is what he can do. He's still yet to really prove it, but glimpses of quality and the most excitable performance he's had in a Spurs shirt yet. So I think we've just got to stick with it at him in the 10. I think that attack and the creativity and just the threat of the attack itself was quite an improvement on the last few games because we didn't really show much attacking threat against Bodo Glimt, against Wolves. Brighton was also a bit limited. The last three or four so games, it was quite a limited amount of threat we posed to the opposition, but this was the most, I think, as a whole we've created. I think that would be down to Simmons having the role and having the license in the 10.
Thank you. And sticking with you, 85th minute, Spurs made substitution on come Danso for Odebear, clearly a defensive move by Thomas Frank. How do you think Odebear did in this game? Because I looked at him and I thought, you know what, I think you're getting better each game.
Yeah, no, I think he's all right. I think he looked pretty dangerous on the left. Created a few decent chances, I'd say. I mean, his crossing seems to be getting a bit of improvement, I'd say, as well. He can pick out a decent. I mean, we had a lack of height in the box when it came to attacking because Tell isn't the tallest, really. Have a lack of aerial threat, really, with Tell up front. But we made up for it. But no, Odebear seems to be getting a bit brighter. I'd say against Bodo Glimt, he was probably our best attacker on the pitch that started. But I mean, that wasn't really hard, to be fair. But I mean, still, he still looked the brightest out of all four that was on the pitch at the time. So, I think he was decent against Leeds as a whole. He looked to try and take on his man, something that I criticised Brendan Johnson for not doing. But I think Odebear does it. He's one of our wingers. Him and Kudus, they do take on their men, which is something what your wingers to be doing. It's the kind of the role of a winger, really, to take on the fullback. But no, he was doing better. And I think that I don't see why he can't start the next game at the left. I mean, depending on, I don't know if we get someone like a Koda Mwani or a Solanke back in time, maybe that might shift things around. But if we have the same players available for our next game, which is Aston Villa at home on the Sunday, I don't see why he can't be starting.
No, that's a good point. Thank you very much. We'll have to see whether he does or not. But like I said, I do feel, unfortunately for him, that that international break as well has maybe come at a bad time as it is to tell. But hopefully, they can keep the momentum going in the international break and for Tottenham when they come back. But last change of the day was in the 90th minute. Johnson coming on for Kudus. So it ended full time. Leeds 1, Tottenham 2. The second half XGs is not for the whole game. People often get confused. Just for the second half, I've got here. Leeds was 0.43 and Spurs was 0.14. Reminder, XG stands for expected goals. Saturday was Leeds' first home defeat since September 2024, so 12 months ago. Spurs also broke their streak of failing to win 7 consecutive matches that took place just before an international break. So it's 3 points with that Leeds win. It's winning the first game on Saturday, Philip mentioned, moving up to second in the table at the time, now third, breaking that awful international record. Tell scoring, Kudus getting his first goal. Kudus now having the most assists in the league and the first team to win at Ellen Road in over a year. Also, I've got a lot more here. Fun fact, only one team has not conceded a goal in the last 15 minutes of a Premier League game this season. That team is Tottenham. So in so many ways, Lewis, this win feels significant, doesn't it? Whatever way you look at it.
Yeah, it's getting rid of the Spursy tag, aren't we? I mean, I don't know why it's even created, but no, it's one thing on the Frank. He has. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the Super Cup, but I mean that's an anomaly. But in general, since that game, we've had a great ability to hold on to games, and throughout his tenure, we've had the ability to hold on to a result. For instance, against Ellen Road, because that to me, with 15 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go, whatever, you're 2-1 up against Ellen Road. If under the last couple of years, even though I've raved about Ange, I have. I'm nervous in that situation. I was nervous as well. Don't remember, I always am. Football fans we are, but you have that sense of comfort with Frank that we have the ability to see out a game more, and that's something great teams do. I mean, even with Brighton, we were 2 goals behind, and it's that's a mentality to come back and get an equaliser. And if anything, if we played another half hour, for instance, hypothetical, or another 20 minutes, whatever, in the Brighton game, I think we're looking more dangerous if we're going to go score and get a winner. And that's the sort of mentality that he's instilling in this club right now. But it's the ability to hold on to a game, because Leeds away, although they've just been promoted, that is still massive 3 points at the end of the day. Especially as Leeds are a tough place to go, as you mentioned. First, lost at home for a whole year. I mean, people will say, "Oh, well, they're in the Championship, one of the best teams in the Championship." Probably expect that. Still, it's still a good stat from on Leeds' perspective. And to break that, it's pretty impressive. We know that international break, or a massive hoodoo that was. I think the last time we did it was Leeds away under Ange's first season. I'm pretty sure that's the game when Mickey van der Ven scored. It was 1-0. I mean, that seems like 8 years ago now, doesn't it? So, I mean, that kind of just feels how terrible our international break form is. With 7 games unbeaten as well, something that I think in the Premier League last season was unheard of for us. So I think it's the mentality and just what is the principles that he said that he would instill with this club the first day he joined. They're being installed, and you can see it.
Yeah, it's a good point made there, Lewis. Agree with that. And Philip, to kind of go, expand on that a little bit. Would you say that this game had banana skin kind of written all over it? The fact it was a newly promoted team, away from home, it being at Ellen Road, the game before an international break, a few draws before that, first game on a Saturday. It just felt like everything was set up for, I'm going to say it, a Leeds win, if not, a draw in this game. So are you surprised that, I'll even go as far as saying against the odds, we, were brave and showed real mentality and resilience to get the result that we know we're capable of?
Well, it's typical Spursy banana skin, as you've said, for all those kind of reasons. Early kickoff, international break, promoted side, Leeds United as well, as I said, which isn't an easy place to go to. Terrible weather. When do we ever win those kind of games? Like, the amount of games that we've kind of just not turned up to over the last couple of seasons, but also over the last 50 years is just ridiculous. But I mean, I personally, but I was quite confident going into the game. I had a good feeling. I felt that we would, probably struggle to deal with Leeds in some respects, because Leeds do play under Farke. They play quite attacking, right? And they're at home as well, and they've got something to prove in the Premier League, and they've started well. Not many teams are going to go to Leeds and pick up a result this season, I think. when you look back over the season, I'd like to think that we're probably one of only a handful of teams that have gone there and won, and that includes the classical top 6 teams, if I'm being honest. I had a good feeling, and we made it happen in the end. And I think, again, as always, I don't want to talk about last season and say, oh, under Ange, we would have lost that game, but probably last season we would have, we may have scored an extra goal, but we may have conceded 2 more, and I don't know, like I think we have to take all of these results. We have to look at these results, and we have to take the benefits out of the points and the fact that we are being resilient, and not conceding that many goals, and even Leeds, to be fair, the XG that Leeds generated is a bit unrealistic as well, because that Vicario chance was an XG of 1, right? Sorry, the tap in, that was a 1 XG. That was one of their XGs. But like, with the greatest respect to Leeds, they didn't really create that chance, if you know what I mean. Like, it's, I felt the Leeds probably would have felt that they would have deserved something from the game, but I think we also got into so many other good positions on the pitch where it just didn't. The final ball was lacking. We couldn't click where we needed to. But I don't understand why some people are kind of saying that we didn't deserve the win, or we got lucky. We were very resilient, and we could have scored more goals on another day. We could have conceded more as well, but we were resilient, and we didn't concede at the end. Yeah, that's the point, right? Yeah, we brought on a defender, and changed to a back 5. A lot of people see that as a negative as well. I'd probably also say, well, I'd like us to continue attacking, but being realistic, like, if you feel that you can maybe hold on to the lead and do it, and that includes your keeper making a good save, then he did it, right? So again, respect to the team and respect to the manager for actually making us hard to beat and holding on to that lead, right, for X amount of minutes, And the last thing I would say about that, right, and being a potential banana skin, again, probably, and it wouldn't only have just been under Ange, it would have also been under Conte even, or Mourinho, or even Poch, or some of those other managers, right? Like, the amount of times we have conceded in the last few minutes of the game. As you said, we haven't conceded after. We're the only team that hasn't conceded after the 75th minute. I think we're the only team as well that hasn't given up a lead in a game, right, after leading. So we're not conceding goals at the death. So, we in the end, we made it not to be a banana skin, because we managed the game effectively. So, I did have a positive feeling about it, but in the end, I was also kind of happily, not surprised, but happily, maybe a bit surprised at the end, that we just kind of managed the game actually okay, which we've done on multiple occasions. So, again, bigger picture, last point on it, but if we can just use this basis and, build on the attacking moves, get the balance in midfield, then, who knows what could happen.
Exactly. Hopefully good things. Thank you, Philip. Lewis, Leeds United boss Daniel Farke said he believes Leeds were the better team and deserved 3 points. Do you agree? Can you understand at least where he's coming from?
Not really. I think we're better. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. But maybe he's biased. You have biases in football. He's not going to sit here and, unless we won the game 5-0, I don't think he's going to sit there and give us all the praise. But I don't think Leeds were typically bad. I think Leeds could be probably proud of their performance. I think they did well. Newly promoted team, a lot of the times when they come maybe Big Six club, I can have that mantra about you, Big Six, but you come in, you would expect to lose 3-4-0 maybe. But they held in there. They dug deep. They're pretty impressive. They had a clear threat when they went forward. They gave our defence a bit of problems. So I think they just lost it in the defence, maybe defensive areas. And I think it's just maybe a bit more. We have a bit more quality in our squad than Leeds do, which is probably what overwon it for us. But I don't think I think to sit there and say they were the better team, I think maybe pushing it a little
Yeah.
far. But maybe they deserve the draw. Maybe you could sit there and say they're probably good enough. They probably were good enough for a point. I'll give them that. They probably, if you sit there and say if it was 2-2 or 1-1, I think you could probably sit there and say that's not the worst result for either team. I think it's probably fair. But if you had to pick a winner, I probably would say I would say our quality and just maybe the moments like the moment of brilliance is what's won us that game. So you can't really say Leeds were the better team, but they were deserving of a point. I could say that.
Fair enough. Appreciate that. Can I get quickly both your man of the match before we go on to a couple of final questions to wrap up? Start with you, Lewis. Who's your man of the match in this game and why?
I'm going to be boring. I'm going to say Kudus. I mean, it's probably the boring shout. It's probably the uninventive shout. But at the end of the day, I just think he's just a class of his own in that game. Really, he was the most threatening going forward. He offered the most. He's just the outlet. Like I think every player you can see it. I've seen it many games this season. Our main move is going to Kudus, literally pumping the ball forward to him and just letting him do it on his own. But we kind of rely on that a bit too much. I would say it's maybe an issue of this, but it's effective. It's working, and he's just very good. His ability on the ball is incredible. His strength as well is something I didn't even notice at West Ham. I didn't even notice his strength. I mean, I didn't watch West Ham enough, probably not. But that's something that I'm seeing now is that his strength on the ball is pretty incredible. That he just doesn't get shoved off it. When he has the ball, he needs to put in a really good challenge to get him off the ball. But physically, you're going to be outmuscled by Kudus. His ability with his left foot, you can see it was a decent finish from him. From his perspective, his pace, is everything. And one thing I don't think he gets enough flowers for is his defensive contribution as well. His tracking back for a winger is something I've never really seen from any other wingers in my time as a football fan. It's something I see him a lot. He helps out Pedro Porro a lot, and that's something he doesn't even get any praise for. No one even talks about how defensively capable he is. So I think he had it all that game, and yeah, no, I would say Kudus for sure.
Thank you, Lewis. I think I'd share that with you. Philip, are you going with Kudus? Part of me really wants to go with Matisse Tell. I'd probably actually lean towards choosing him now I think about it.
Matisse Tell would have deserved man of the match on any other day. But the presence of Kudus and what he did in the game means that it has to go to Kudus for me. I mean, you know, he had like 15 dangerous moments probably like in the game, right, where he picked the ball up and he kind of went past players. There was that chance as well in the first half, which I think we maybe didn't talk about, where it was actually a really good move from Spurs, like really good attacking move. And there was a cross that came in across and Kudus kind of had the chance to finish from just inside the area on his left foot and he hit it over. It's a difficult chance to take on as he did, but you'd probably put money on him to at least get that on target, right? And then that would be, for me, like quite a decent XG chance as well, to be honest. It wasn't like, a random shot from outside the box. So he could have easily like ended up with a brace or even with a hat-trick, I think, on another day. It's got to be Kudus in the end. Matisse Tell would have deserved it, though, because he was really good in the game, not just for his goal, but he was good in the whole game, energy and stuff. So he would have been my second, a backup. But I can't not pick Kudus after that performance. And the stats probably just kind of, he was already leading, as you mentioned, Harry, he was already leading like the tables, right? And a lot of the, assists, XG kind of chances created, crosses, all of that stuff. But he actually just pretty much just built out his lead in that table through this game. So, yeah, fair play. Kudos.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much. Stat for you here, João Palhinha is the first player to make 25 tackles in the Premier League this season. So here's his game by numbers against Leeds United. Just another name to throw into the works of who done very well in this game. He won 7 duels, 4 final third entries, 3 aerial duels won, 3 clearances, 2 tackles, a few fouls won, 2 fouls conceded 2. So pretty impressive from him. I'll come back to you, Philip, because I know that you spent time watching Palhinha for Bayern, obviously being a Spurs fan over in Germany. So, firstly, how good has he been so far? And secondly, the big question, of course, it's still a little way away. There's no need to decide this now. But are you leaning towards signing him permanently or not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get fall in love with him too much, and then we don't, right? But yeah, I mean, for me, I think he's overperformed, like in terms of what my expectation was when we got him. I knew he was good, but that was based on watching a handful of games for Bayern and obviously limited hands-on game watching of Fulham when he played there. But it was clear how good he was. I expected him to have a big impact, but I actually didn't expect him to have quite as big an impact so quickly. My answer, yeah, I mean, we need to sign him, and surely a no-brainer really to sign him at the price I think that we've agreed. 25 million or 28 million or something like that. I mean, it's like peanuts, isn't it, in the market at the moment for probably one of the best defensive midfielders in Europe, right? At the end of the day, doing what he does, and he chips in with goals as well. And to be fair, again, I still think that the midfield is unbalanced. So he's performed that level individually in a midfield which I think isn't quite efficient enough yet. So if Frank can get the whole puzzle put together there, then in my opinion, Paulinho should get even better. So yeah, like we need to sign him, and I mean I'm sure he's a good role model to the younger guys in the squad as well. So you'd think we'd absolutely have to go out and get him, because who else would you get in for that kind of money anyways nowadays, right? Gray isn't going to replace what Paulinho does day in, day out. We're probably not going to get Adam Wharton, being realistic, next summer. Even if we did, I would see Wharton as being a different kind of player to Paulinho. Like he would play alongside Paulinho, right, as that deep lying kind of all action creative superstar, right? So for me, we've got to get Paulinho in, right? Unless he gets injured or something like that.
Philip, just briefly, the only other side to that is some people say that Paulinho, by the way, I'm for signing him, but some people say you just get like a good year or two out of him if you do sign him permanently, and some people would rather us go for that longer term option. If I'm being honest with you, I think, if we are serious, and he's gone now, but leave his words of winning the Premier League and Champions League, then for me, you go to, well, I would say Carlos Baleba, but his form at the moment is very worrying. So let's just stick to Adam Wharton for now. But do you know what I mean? That type of profile that we all know is going to be that kind of next best thing in that position. Or, well, I'd argue that a club with real ambition to win the Premier League and Champions League would actually go and get both. They'd sign Paulinho, as you said, for the experience, for the role model, whether it be on a year or two contract, and then we'll go and get someone for the future. But I think fans worry that Paulinho will be that kind of long-term solution that we try and hang out to dry.
Yeah, I mean, he is he's just turned 30, Paulinho. He's not really the fastest player anyway, is he? I don't think, like, in terms of pace. As you said, I think next summer, if we want to, like, who knows where we're going to end up this season, right? And obviously we hope we qualify for the Champions League again, so that we can maybe help to attract players like an Adam Wharton or a Baleba, if he would come to us and if we were interested in. But Paulinho should be signed anyway. That amount of money. Even if we get another 2 years out of him for 28 million right now, you take that straight away. And maybe there's an argument with Paulinho that he can play longer than that. Because he's not that fast. Even if he loses a bit of pace through his kind of tackling, his presence, maybe it's just worth having him, right, as an option. And even if he's a squad player, in the end, he seems like a good guy. He seems like he's got that mentality. So he's got that winning mentality, right? So we should be signing him either way. But yeah, on top of that, we need next summer to go. We were talking about with Bentancur as well, right? We need, in my opinion, a top centre midfielder who isn't really a number 6. He's not really a number 8. He's kind of something in the middle, right? And he can create as well, which is basically Adam Wharton, to be honest. But like someone like that, that's what we need. If we want to be serious, that is what we need to do. And then still sign Paulina, right? But that's what we need. That's what we need for this team to get to the next level, I think, is like just someone who's like almost the first name on your team sheet in midfield, but it's going to create chances, progress with the ball. We can do a bit of everything. We need that all-rounder, I think, still. And that would help the balance anyways, right, moving forward. So...
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? No, you're right. You're right. Thank you. And Lewis, to end with you, 7 games now unbeaten, as I said earlier, as we head into the international break. I mean, not bad starts to the season. Is it better than you expected? When Ange left, when Frank was appointed, I felt the same as you in terms of wanted Ange to stay, but very happy with the appointment of Frank. So, what have you made of his start to life at Spurs?
It's not been bad by any means. I still sit here and I'm a little bit. I mean, I don't know if I can be annoyed really, but in the sense, I still kind of am, because I feel like Wolves and Brighton is 6 points we could have had in the bag right now if it wasn't down to. I mean, I don't want to throw blame at one person, but I might in Vicario. I mean, I feel it feels bad. I don't really want to do it, but I think both goals. I think the second goal for Brighton and the first. I think both of them are kind of avoidable, and I think we could be sitting there top of the league right now. And I think we really could be. And I think the issue that I've got now is that our next run of games, in the next 5, I believe we play Man United, Arsenal, and Chelsea. So I think in the next 5, maybe 6 games that will span it. So I think that to me is a bit of an issue for how many long term our form. This is the best run of games you would have had all season. If you look at our in a fixture running, this is the easiest set of fixtures we would have had. I think we could have picked up more points. I mean, I think is it 4 wins? Is it 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss? Or was it 4 wins? I believe it's 4.
Good question. I'll have a look now, but I know it's a single loss. Right, I've got it here, so let's bring it up. Go back to the first game. Yeah, so you got 1 win, 2 win, 3 win. Yeah, 4 wins.
4 wins, 2 draws and a loss in 7 games. On paper, that's not terrible at all. It's really not.
No.
But I really feel like we could be sitting there with 6 wins instead of just the 4. And it would help long span over the season, because Champions League, I mean, we're sitting in 4 points. We're not doing too bad. I think we could. I mean, again, that Bodo Glimt game, I think we could have took by the scruff of the neck, and we could be sitting at the top of the joint top of the Champions League table. But that is up for debate. But I still think we could have just done better. I think we've had, from this point up, was the best opportunity for picking up points, and I just feel like we've dropped points we could have had. Is all I'd say.
Maybe the case of great, but not perfect. Would that be fair to say?
I mean, it's just really hard to be perfect right now. I mean, you look at Arne Slot and Liverpool. I'm not going to go on a rant about that, but I mean, they've been, with how well they did last season, they've been far from perfect in their eyes this season. So attaining perfect is obviously very, very possible to do. But it's good building blocks. I'm just a little bit skeptical on how we're going to approach the games when we play Arsenal, when we play Chelsea, play United. I'm just still a bit, because we never really had that. I mean, Man City away is a brilliant set of 3 points. It's a great test, but we haven't really been tested yet, apart from City away.
Good point. Have you got anything to add before we finish?
Me?
No. Either of you?
Not really.
No. Cool. No worries. Thank you very much. That kind of wraps us up nicely then for this episode of the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. You know who I am. I'm Harry Scarfe, your host. Please follow me at Harry Scarfe32 across all socials. But most importantly, if you're new, like and subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening via audio, that's a podcast platform. Please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Big shout out to our 5 partners now at the channel and podcast, ever growing. So we thank all of them. It's been great. September, one of the best years to date. Fantastic. And everything's going really well, so I appreciate all your continued support. Let's see now where you can find my 2 wonderful guests for tonight across social media. I mean, at one point I thought we were down to the bare bones when 2 dropped out, but we got through it really well, and it was actually quite a nice show. Philip, I'll start with you. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you and talk to people about what you do, of course, within South Germany Spurs?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, Harry. Yeah, I'm mainly on X at Frankfurt Spurs. where again, as I said, I generally tweet about obviously Spurs and a bit about the Bundesliga. I was at the Frankfurt game against Bayern at the weekend as well. Obviously saw Harry Kane score a wonderful goal as usual, which is great. So I generally will start to kind of post a bit more about Germany and about the Bundesliga, about young talent there as well coming through, because I think it's still a massive opportunity missed actually for the Premier League, if I'm being honest. And at South Germany Spurs, I'm on the board of an official Tottenham Hotspur supporters club in Germany, and we're trying to obviously just continue to grow our fan base here on the ground in Germany, which is happening. Obviously a strong competition, right? Historically, as it is probably in every country around the world. But we're seeing good traction, and the fact that we're playing in the Champions League and being in the Europa League and playing here in a couple of months at Frankfurt as well, it doesn't kind of harm that. So shoot me out. Also, if you're coming out to Germany for the Spurs game in a couple of months, I'm full of tips. So, yeah, pleasure to be on today, Harry. Cheers.
Great stuff. Pleasure to have you. Thank you very much, Philip. And Lewis, it's been a little while, but always good to have you on. All the best with your A-levels coming up. Where can people follow you on the socials? I know they're not as active as you would like them to be.
No, I mean, I don't really, just social media ain't really my thing. I don't think. I just don't really do much on there. More I work in silence. But Romero 17 season, if anyone wants to follow it, you're free to do so. You won't be getting anything on it, but if you want to follow me, then why not? Any work I'll do will probably be behind the scenes or once in a blue moon podcast. But when I finish A levels, I hope I'll be on here much more. So that'll be good. Hopefully next summer. But yeah, no, I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
We're always welcome. So thank you very much for coming on. As I said, all the best. Thank you as well to you, Philip. It's been a nice one. And thank you to all of you for listening. A massive Common You Spurs. The content will continue throughout the international break. Still 2 podcasts a week, 2 episodes, you name it. All the content still continues. There'll be England content to replace the Spurs content. That Spurs content will still be there. Maybe not about games, but in terms of news, analysis of the season so far. So if anything, there's actually more content than there will be when Spurs are playing. That does sound mad. So make sure you like, subscribe and follow to stay tuned for all of that. And for now, massive Common You Spurs.